This week's parsha we start off that there's a problem Yitzchak and Rivka had, that they had no children. So before I start talking about what the Ari'Zal has to say about it, just on what happens today, so I have to tell you a story. Right? Nobody sleeps during the story. Afterwards, then you can fall asleep. And the Maisa goes like this: there was a couple, and they did not have any children for 20 years. Lived in Yerushalayim. So they went to all the Rabbanim for brachas and Segulas, and they did everything under the sun. Nothing worked. So then they went finally to one Rav. The Rav told them, listen, if nothing worked, then you have to be baidik in yourself to see if there's anybody who has tinus on you. Maybe somebody has tinus, and so he went back and forth. He could not think of anybody. Then it was like he went to sleep and he felt something hit him in the head. He remembered a certain Maisa that the guy may have a taina. He remembered, I'm not sure if I said this story once or not. If I don't remember it, so maybe nobody else does either. Anyways, what happened was when he was in Mesifta, third year Mesifta, so he became the gabbai of the shul. And there was one bacher there who had a bad limp, and people would make fun of his limp. So he begged the gabbai, please never give me an aliyah, because by the time I go from my seat up to the bima, it's going to be very embarrassing for me, and so please never give me an aliyah. There was one year that it was a Purim Meshulash, and everybody was, happy and drunk. And this guy who was the gabbai said, it would be a good practical joke. I'm going to give this guy who can't walk too well, I'm going to give him an aliyah. It's Purim, everything goes. Kids, he gave the guy an aliyah, and he walking very slow to the bima. He was very embarrassed. He didn't want to go, but he got called up. He had to go, and then people were making fun. Slowpoke, can you walk already? Will you drink too much? They make a chayzuk of him. He was very embarrassed. Lamaisa, he got up, he got his aliyah, and he was pushing upset, all the bizyainus and everything else. And so this guy remembered that this guy, he said maybe it was many, many years ago when I was a kid in Mesifta, and probably the guy doesn't even think about it anymore because it's been so long ago. Lamaisa, he went to his house, knocks on the door. He wanted to ask Mechila. And the guy comes to the door and says, yeah, what do you want? Who are you? So he tells him his name. The guy slammed the door in his face and says, you? Don't you ever come to my house? You ruined my entire life. Because it turned out, Lamaisa, that this guy who had the limp, he was totally broken after that Maisa, and he never got over it. And Imam, she sat his whole life with smoke coming out of his ears, literally, that this guy, he was so insulted from that Maisa many, many years ago that he was never Michael him. So the Maisa, the guy came to him, and the guy never took a job. Like his whole life fell apart after he had a Maisa. Because obviously the guy had major, major tinus. So he begged him and begged him and begged him. And the guy said, no, but you ruined my entire life and everything else. So the guy took out his checkbook, and he wrote him out a check for whatever his living expenses were for the entire year, every single month. After that, so the guy saw that he was very serious, and he was mamish crying to please be Michael him. Suf, he was Michael him, and they were able to become friends again. The statement, every story has a good ending, and after that, he had many, many children. And on that note, statement pasuk, he sat there, they both couldn't have children, so what was the pshat? As we know, Chazal tell us that Bane, Chaye, Umezayne, Lai B'schusa Talya Milsa, Ela B'mazla Talya Milsa. What I'm saying over is pretty much what the Ari'Zal says. I have no major chidushim, but as much as you get out of it, Ari'Zal is a lot better than me. So, Besazai. So, what's the Pasha Pshat of Lai B'schusa Talya Milsa, Ela B'mazla Talya Milsa? Pasha Pshat is, which I saw, is that since it's not b'schusim. So therefore, anything you get is called a matnas chinam. But since it's not b'schusa, so how much you get, that's totally in the mazel when a person is born. Nothing to do with rolling the dice and good luck. Chas v'shalom. We don't believe in that. Everything to do whenever a person is born, as you know, there's 12 mazolas, and every shah has a mazel, every minute has a mazel, every chelik has man. Which is also why when a person's expecting, you're not supposed to induce if it's not necessary, if it's not medically necessary, because the moment that the baby's born, that shows the mazel of the baby when they're born. Therefore, you're not supposed to, whatever's coming from Shemayim, whenever the woman says, baby's coming, that's been Shemayim. So to induce it, unless it's a statement, if it's a sakana, then you're not supposed to do it. So, now we know that the word vayetar, that's gematria shem adnus b'miluay. At that moment when they were davening, there was tachas shlitas hadin. Shem adnus, as you know, is din. So the word vayetar is aleph dalet nun yud b'miluay. That's the gematria. Also, the Targum says that tir'eh tov reish ayin aleph is a Targum of seyar. What's the seyar? That the seir is merames a vav and a yud in a seir. How's that? Because every hair that a person has, as you know, it's also to pull out the hair from your beard. And the reason I'm saying it dafka that way, because it's minig Ashkenaz that we do cut our beards, but b'shayrish it's asur, because every hair is what's called a tzinar for chasadim to come down. And Rabbi Shalom doesn't want us to ruin it. So he says, don't pull out your hairs. But it's only b'shayrish. So that's why also there's an isatar to use a razor on a face, because the razor takes out the shayrish. So when you take out the shayrish, then in other words, it's not an isser to make our life difficult. If I care, it's an isser because you're going to make your own life difficult. And the Rabbi Shalom doesn't want you to hurt yourself. Therefore, he tells you, don't do these lavin that I'm telling you that's good for yourself. So anyways, you see over here that the vav yud, now the vav represents the seir, it's one straight thing, and the yud represents the oir in the seir. You also know that the word, one second. Okay, so and also the vav is the din, and the yud is the chesed. Okay? Now we know also, I'm putting a few things down and then they'll come together. That the word mazla is gematria lechem. And the lechem, how are you mamtig? How do you make this mazla work for you? Because lechem and melach are the same ideas. So by metabel the lechem into the melach, so you mamtig the din of the lechem. That's the pas ba melach toichal. Right? So you mamtik the lechem. And as you know, why do you have to be mamtik it? As you know, since all the chitzonim get the yanika from kedusha, right? So there's the chitzonim sitting at the table in the melach is bitter. So when you put the lechem in the melach, you mamtik, so to speak, the melach and the lechem also. Now, as we know, we're talking about mazalos. We don't mean mazalis in the stars. We're talking about the Yud Gimel Tikunei Dikna, which is a mazel, and the main one we talk about over here is mazel ches, which is Neitza Chesed, and mazel Yud Gimel, which is Venake. And the word Vayeta Yitzchak Noichach Ishtoi, Noichach is gematria. Noichach without the vav is gematria mazel. So what was happening was, since Yitzchak was represented by the Neitza Chesed, and Rivka was represented by the Venake, she's the Isha, so we needed to make a yichud between those two. So therefore it's like b'schus Talia Milsa, el b'mazel Talia Milsa. So these two mazolos of the Neitza Chesed and the Yud Gimel had to have a yichud to come together. So that's one pshat in loy b'schus Talia Milsa, but b'mazel Talia Milsa. Okay. Now, if you take the word vayetar, so you have first above Yud, and then you have atar, al ayin tov reish. So the reason why I mentioned the Seir, because the Targum of Seir is Tar'ah, Taf Reish Ayin Aleph. So what we had to what? Is that Ayin or the Aleph? With the Aleph or Ayin? I touched it as Seir. That's why he's talking about the Cyrus over here, from the Vav Yud and the Vayetar. Okay. The Yeshlach, like. Either way. Okay. Anyways, so the Cyrus show you where do you get the Chibur of the Ches and the Yud Gimel, since it's both in Cyrus Hadikna, so it's coming through the Cyrus. So now we have a little problem that this Vayetar, Tara, has an Aleph, and it's only Gematria Atar. That's what we said in the beginning, that was Keneged, the, what do you call it? The Shem Adnos. So, Be'miloi. So, we have two parts to the word. We have a Vav Yud, and we have an Ayin Tov Resh. So, problem is that the Aleph is made up of a Yud Vav Yud. Right? And we only have a Vav Yud over here. So what about the Yud on top? So if you have the Yud on top, since it makes it into Yud Vav Yud, which is Shem Havaya, so that's a Shem of Chasodim, Rachamim. So therefore, if you take the Yud Ilah and you mechaven to it, so the Ari'Zal says, as a Segula for somebody who doesn't have children, what he should do is, he should be mechaven to the Yud Ilah from the Aleph, and he says it should come from which should be mechaven to the Shem Ayin base, which is Havaya Ilah. So how does it work? Practically speaking, if somebody needs to do it, so they should be, when they say the Shem Havaya, they should picture in their heads the Yud coming from the first Yud of the Shem Ab, as it's spelled out. I just wanted to mention one other thing, that there was a mice in the Gemara of a lady, Kimchis, that said, so they said because they feel the Daifnei Habayis, they didn't see Hasiris. But they said, didn't work. So I was thinking maybe the pshat is that she was mechaven to the Yud. So Taka and Saris were not seen because they represent Din, the Yud, which is the Ur of the Sar. So she was mechaven to the Yud of the Ur. That's why she was Zeich and the others weren't. So,